let's have some fun. Rob, how would you feel about another Buckeye joining us?
Sure.
Oh,
why
shit.
not?
Who?
We got David
Hello.
Greenshield, Dr.
Hello.
Buckeye in the house.
Well, I said that I would be here, and
You did.
I am happy to step into the paint. And I'm just going to start by reading it. I'm going to read it. You address it. I'm going to give you my interpretation of it. If you guys have already been over this ground, I was already over this ground with Mark Rogers, but I want your interpretation. John, I believe you're involved in the legal area, so you can tell me what your interpretation of it is. We'll go around the circle here, and you tell me what you think. Okay?
Okay, let's go.
And if you've already addressed it, pardon me, I addressed
You're
it with
good.
Mark.
You're good.
At 7.5 hours, we've talked about a lot, but let's hear your take.
Okay, so let's just go to the penalties. You guys have seen the write-up. Let's go to the penalties aspect of it. Okay?
Yep.
As a result of Michigan's most recent infractions case, 3 parties, Michigan, Harbaugh, and more, fall within the legislated window to trigger repeat violator status. Michigan's repeat violator status, coupled with its level 1 aggravated case classification, is sufficient grounds for a multi-year postseason ban. Okay? Now, you guys want to hear the however part because that's what made you happy and why you guys are doing victory laps. However, the panel determined that a postseason ban would unfairly penalize student athletes for the actions of coaches and staff who are no longer associated with the Michigan football program. Thus, the panel determined a more appropriate penalty is an offsetting financial penalty instead of a 2-year postseason ban. That leads to a couple of questions, okay? Tony Gerdeman raised this on his show, and it's an obvious question. If you guys have already addressed it, let's just go there. If Jim Harbaugh was still your football coach, would you be facing a postseason ban? Because that's how I read that. Go.
I don't
Possibly.
think postseason ban.
Possibly. I'll say possibly.
Well, I don't know about postseason, but he would definitely get show cause. I mean, obviously. I mean, if all right, I told John this maybe on the phone or maybe I don't know.
Okay.
If Jim Harbaugh was still our coach, this would be a fucking hammer. He'd be gone.
Yeah, I think they'd suspend him for at least a year or 2.
No. It'd be the fucking 10 years. He'd be gone.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is it's a 10-year show cause, meaning if he was still employed by the university, that doesn't really a show cause is only if you're applying to a new school and you've got to go through the process at a new school. So what I'm saying is if Jim Harbaugh was still the coach right now, Sharon Moore got 3 games, 2 this year, 1 next year. I think Jim Harbaugh probably would have gotten a year, maybe 2 years minimum of not being able to coach on Saturday or elsewhere. But guess what? Because he's gone, Sharon Moore's the head coach. This is how they chose to approach it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we had Harbaugh, this would be a lot harsher. I mean, it would be harder on the fan base for sure.
But here's the other side that you didn't bring up, and why this is such a stupid hill to die on. The reason that they're calling it a repeat offender, the repeat offender status, is because during the COVID whatever, and Jim Harbaugh was on a Zoom call with a recruit, and his brother wanted to show Jim Harbaugh he could do push-ups, and Sharon Moore happened to be in the fucking office with him when he did it. That was his first offense. And the second offense was because they came in and said, hey, we want the last 13 years of your personal emails and phone call records and text message records. And they wanted to come in and act like they were fucking Congress with subpoena power. And they wanted it within 24 hours. And when Michigan said, no, fuck you, they said, oh, that's noncompliance, repeat offender. That is the stupidest things to try to punish somebody hard for. It's ridiculous. And to try to say that that's worth postseason bans or bowl bans is absolutely ridiculous. And just to be clear, I have been very consistent on this for over a decade. I think it was just as ridiculous that y'all got a postseason ban for that tattoo shit.
Okay. Yeah. I would say that a majority of your fan base in 2010 wasn't saying that because I listened.
Sure, but I'm talking about for me.
I mean, that's also a factually accurate statement.
We believe you.
And
I believe you.
Dace was not saying that in 2012.
I believe
No.
that. I believe
Yeah,
that.
we're not Dace.
No, okay, and I know you don't represent him, but he was obviously got a podcast that's very influential with your fan base.
Yeah, it has.
So just bottom line, you if Harbaugh's your coach, you guys don't feel you get a postseason ban. Just bottom line it for me.
Maybe a year.
I don't think I don't think postseason ban or vacated wins or anything was ever going to be on the table.
So the way you read that is no, because the way I read that is yes.
Why does it matter?
Well, hold on. Let's
okay.
I'll tell you why it matters, John.
Okay.
I'll tell you why it matters, John.
Okay.
Hold on.
Go ahead, TJ.
Go ahead if you want to go ahead, TJ.
In my opinion, I'm not sure we get a postseason ban, but I do think they crush Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Me too.
I do think they feel that, and there's two reasons. One, we know money's at play. We know that, right? Money's at play. But they also don't want to affect the present kids, the kids who are presently on the team. So I do think Jim Harbaugh gets effed. I mean, I think I can't remember if I was telling John before the show or when we talked about if Harbaugh was our head coach, this would be bad. He'd be gone. They would have cooked him. I'm not so sure we'd get a postseason ban because the reason being is because the financial impact. Like Michigan is a brand, just like as you guys are. Like Ohio State is a significant brand. Michigan's a significant brand. Like, let's just be honest. We all see the TV ratings. Our programs put up some of the best ratings in all of college football. The reality is, and you may say unfortunately, but the reality is the networks are not going to allow that. The NCAA is not going to allow that. The Big Ten's not going to allow that. So that's where we are. I do think Jim Harbaugh would get absolutely hammered. I agree. If Harbaugh was our coach, this would not be a good day.
The only thing that
hold on, Rob wanted to add something to it. Rob,
go ahead. We didn't let the other Ohio State fans. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just so I've read pretty much the entire ruling and just the fine print of the NCAA, and to me it said, well, you took pretty much Harbaugh's gone, Clinksale and everybody else, pretty much almost every other coach under the Harbaugh regime, and they're pretty much saying like, okay, we feel like everybody's gone from that, and especially everybody's gone from that debacle, so that's the only reason why we're not going to give it that postseason ban. I also read that they said the level 1 aggravated which was for the not exemplary cooperation, did constitute a postseason ban, but we're not going to do this because no one from that previous staff that was involved is no longer there, and so it wouldn't be fair to punish players for it, current student athletes for it. So
okay, two things on the Harbaugh situation, then I'm going to comment on your point. Number one, I do think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, there was a negotiation, or there was kind of a quote unquote negotiation between Ward Manuel to try and keep Jim Harbaugh after the 23 season. Now, we can say that bridge was already burned. We can say that the haircut for money, and we can say that the desire for Jim Harbaugh to go back to the NFL was greater than him to stay at a national championship program and try to build something bigger. Now, one would say, I'm just going to tie up my point real quick, TJ, is that if you have a coach that just won a national championship and you've got a lot of your fan base saying he's the greatest coach in the history of the school and, had this accomplishment, you want to lose that?
No. And look, I've said this on the show.
Okay.
If Michigan gave Jim Harbaugh the Nick Saban treatment, I don't think he'd leave.
Okay.
I think,
according to reports, that's true. According to Tom Mars and elsewhere,
the truth.
If they had backed him with that case trying to stop him from getting suspended, and they hadn't done what they did to Chris Partridge, I think Harbaugh was leaning towards staying.
And also, it's very public that Jim Harbaugh, it's even in a book, Jim Harbaugh said that he felt Ward Manuel, our athletic director, would not have his back against the Regents. Yep. Our Regents, and just so you know, I don't know if you guys know our position on this, we're not the biggest fans of our Regents.
Okay.
They're very politically driven, and they have agendas at the end of the day. So like Harbaugh has always felt that the regions, there is a thing about Michigan that the administrations actually they hold Michigan back, and a lot of people believe that. A lot of people within the university, a lot of alumni, and Michigan and Jim Harbaugh has publicly said that he felt Ward Manuel would not have his back against the regions. So, and we saw that. We literally saw Ward Manuel he literally bent the knee to the regions during the 23 run because Harbaugh wanted to go to court. And not only that, Ward Manuel fired Chris Partridge, and Chris Partridge was proven innocent today. And Jim Harbaugh was very pissed about that. So, I mean, there's turmoil within the the university, the administration. So, I think, look, if we had an AD who had a spine, and I know John probably appreciates that comment.
Yep.
Ward Manuel Jim Harbaugh may have stayed. And but if Jim stayed, I feel, and I mean this would have been not a good day for us. They would have cooked.
Right. So if your greatest coach ever stayed, you guys would be in a lot more trouble than you are now. We can agree on that.
Yeah, he'd be gone. They would have destroyed. I think we would all agree, Michigan fans or Buckeyes, NCAA wanted Jim Harbaugh. They wanted him.
Right, because he's not going to be able to coach college football till he's about 80 years old. Right. So in some ways, that's also a fact that Jim Harbaugh basically sacrificed his future as a college football coach, which is never going to happen again, because he's not going to pull a Bill Belichick and coach college football at 80 years old.
Likely not. I don't know. I mean, because
got a couple of years.
Say never, but it's very unlikely.
Very unlikely.
Jim's one of those guys where he wants to die coaching.
Sure, but
I think if they had given him the treatment, like TJ said, if they had his back, if they had promised to have his back going forward, I think he would have stayed at Michigan for life. Okay. Now that he hasn't, I don't think he's coming back to college.
To my Buckeye friend here in the NCAA and how Ohio State was treated, and I'm glad you guys have done some revisionist history. Could have used you back in 2012 with this kind of support, by the way, guys. But
I was still hanging out in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, at that time I was just like I wasn't into anything with media.
Sure, we would have really loved that support in 2012. I got to tell you, because
trust me, I got into plenty of arguments with my Wolverine friends over how stupid it was that they were blowing it out of proportion.
I'm sure you would have welcomed Michigan fans' support with open arms.
Yeah, probably not, but that's neither here nor there. The point that I would make is that did cost us a chance to play for a national championship in 2012. Basically cost us a coach in 3 years of football because they had to vacate wins. Now,
let me ask you a question.
Well, hold on. Before you ask a question, hold on. I want to bring on one more person.
Go ahead.
Well, I want to ask specifically
and then Kinetic, you'll be up next.
We would have played. Ohio State would have played against Notre Dame in the national championship, and not Alabama. But I think I thought it was really stupid about the tattoo thing. But the nail in the coffin was Jim Tressel. What he did, just misleading investigators.
So my question though is, if you could go back and choose for that to not happen, and Tressel's not pushed out, but you never get Urban Meyer, would you take that course?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I addressed that on a Buckeye podcast, and I'm going to address it with you right now directly. There were some Buckeye fans that were saying that, and I've said I think Urban Meyer, just based on record, is maybe one of the 5 or 10 best college football coaches of all time.
Yes.
Because he was able to prove it at multiple places. Only him and Saban were able to win national championships at 2 different programs.
Agreed.
I'll take it.
So, I mean, just based on the numbers, and you can take a look at his record. What I would also say is this.
I'd put Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson as well. Before you continue, Dr. Buckeye, I do want to I've brought on Nick because Nick is a Michigan fan. He's very passionate. He's been listening to this back and forth. He's been listening to the conversation. I want to give Nick a chance to give an opening state, or like just a general statement of what you just heard, and then let's volley it back to the Buckeyes.
Okay.
Hey,
okay.
Nick.
So hey, what's up, fellas?
Yeah.
What up, Nick?
Go
What's up,
blue.
buddy?
Dude, by the way, I just gotta say, I was checking out Buckeye Scoop a little bit. Those
Yeah.
fellas, those are the people you want to stay away from. Those are the people who are living life, seeing everything that you're seeing, and watching a totally different movie. There's something wrong with, I don't know, or they're just fucking liars. They're probably fucking liars.
They literally spent the last 2.5 years or whatever profiting off of misleading their own viewers.
Well,
Okay,
they're invested. They're invested.
First,
You know?
first question, like, what is this? So I think there's a ton of facts about that. This evidence, was this just like, so I heard it was like 73 pages. Was this just basically a long ass 73 page statement? Like, was there any actual like facts or evidence or things like laid out, backed up, supported? Or just was this just kind of a fluff piece with a few rules?
It was a lot of this is why we came to this conclusion on every little point.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, whatever. David, did you
Yes.
did you ask that? I just want to be serious about this.
Yeah.
Did you read off of that statement from the NCAA that
Yes.
clearly said we're not going to give postseason bans anymore, basically? And then
Yeah.
you turned around and asked if Jim Harbaugh was still our coach, would we get a postseason ban?
Well, let me read it again verbatim, okay? So basically, the reason I read it, and it's under the penalties, so let's go over it one more time. As a result of Michigan's most recent infraction case, 3 parties, Michigan, Harbaugh, and more, fall within the legislated window to trigger repeat violator status. Michigan's repeat violator status, coupled with its level 1 aggravated case classification, is sufficient grounds for a multi-postseason ban. However, the panel determined that a postseason ban would unfairly penalize student athletes for actions of coaches and staff who are no longer associated with the Michigan program. Now, the reason that I pointed to the fact that if Harbaugh was still your coach was that last part of that, which is Harbaugh is no longer part of the program. The Stalions is no longer part of the program. So if Harbaugh was still a part of the program, my point being is I'm deriding from that if Harbaugh was still there, a postseason ban would very much be on the table.
You got to remember, though, that the
Where am
NCAA's
I going
intention
wrong with
with
that analysis,
Burgergate.
Nick? I don't know if you want me to.
Well,
Nick,
keep
ahead.
in mind
Yeah,
that the NCAA's entire intention and goal was to get Jim Harbaugh out of college football. It wasn't to keep Michigan out of the postseason. And that's why that would have been their primary goal if he was still here. And that's in large part why they came down so soft on us now, because they achieved that goal. So now they're just trying to save face as much as they can. And the thing that you're reading was written in a lot of ways to try to save face. It's a lot of it's a PR statement. And I think that was part of the wording that was put in there to try to placate the rival fans that wanted more as much as possible, so they have something to point at and say, oh, look, see, they said that you did this.
Nick, let us know.
I still don't understand how that's a serious question, because even if Jim Harbaugh was still with the program, their reasoning for not handing out a postseason ban now would still apply now.
Right. Agree.
Like, there would be players and coaches who had nothing to do with this when it happened who would be getting punished. So they've told you themselves, no, they're not doing it to Michigan. They're not doing it to anybody else. And I would also highly, highly recommend that, like, I've been listening to Menace Sports, going back and listening to a bunch of what people said.
Okay.
This is not a case about facts or evidence. This is a case about narrative and conjecture.
Okay.
Okay.
So can I say that there is a bylaw in here about the head coach responsibility, by the way, Nick? I don't know if you want to read that part, but this I found to be interesting because they did mention his responsibility in all of this. The scouting scheme and recruiting violations in the football program demonstrate that Harbaugh violated the principles of a head coach responsibility. Harbaugh did not
Their
embrace
target was Harbaugh.
or enforce the culture of compliance during his tenure, and his program had a continuous contentious relationship, pardon me, with Michigan's compliance office, leading coaches and staff to disregard NCAA rules. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if he's still a part of the program, and he's done all that, I mean, I
can tell you what I think would happen.
Okay, yeah. Give me just your opinion on what you think would happen if Harbaugh was still your coach, based on all that.
I think he would take the NCAA to court because they'd be dumb enough to try to do this, and they can't back it up, and I think they would get pin slapped in discovery. That's exactly what I think would happen.
Okay.
Because I don't think they ever had the fucking evidence to begin with, and I think this whole narrative about so and so is off destroying evidence, all this stuff, there's nothing to back it up. Nothing. You're taking their word for it.
All right, let me just say this. If Harbaugh was still our head coach, he would not be.
No, yeah, he'd be fired.
Okay, so you're saying that, Nick, he'd be fired. Okay.
Yeah. There wouldn't be a post. He'd be fired. Yeah, he'd be fired for sure.
The NCAA would have suspended him to and that's why, if you remember the contract discussions last year, he wanted in his contract wording that says if the NCAA does XX, let's just say whatever it is, right? He is protected not only by being paid by his salary, but they would also fight for him. Michigan would not agree to those terms. And that was one of the reasons that turned him off, along with the firing of Chris Partridge, along with not fighting the NCAA, as it went on. Listen, here's the reality. And whether our Michigan fans want to hear it or not, if Harbaugh was still our head coach, this would not be a good day. Okay. But because Harbaugh has went to the NFL, the NCAA has been like, okay, well, we're not going to punish the present players for crimes of the past. Yeah. And because of that, we essentially just have a big fine, some recruiting restrictions. And it's interesting to hear, and we've all talked about it. Michigan is going to appeal the Sharon Moore extra game suspension, which, by the way, I think is crazy. Just take it. It's the Western Michigan game next year. Who gives a shit?
Fuck them, dude. Yeah, I totally disagree. But you know me. I've wanted this to go to court since day one as fast as possible. It smelled like rotten eggs from the get-go. The entire way that this entire investigation was laid out and handled was weird. This is not a normal situation. And I'm not talking from, Michigan cheated, all the fucking buzzwords that people throw out there now about this. It was a joke. And they couldn't even follow their own bylaws, by the way, throughout the investigation. So I don't want to hear shit about bylaws.
Yeah, and before you ask one question, I do want to just also point out to this data point, which is Jim Harbaugh's personal lawyer. If we're going to go down this rabbit hole, let's go down it for real. Okay. And let's look at Tom Mars and what he was saying. So he's claiming that there was literally no communications on cell phone images, on deadlines. The only thing that I even remember from this is when Tom Mars was asked for 6,000 emails in 24 hours. And then he said, I need a little more time. And they called it non-compliant. This is the kangaroo court bullshit that the NCAA deals with. And you see it right here.
But wait, how can anyone look at that? And if that's true, if that's a fact, which this guy's a lawyer, it's Jim's lawyer, but I can't imagine he would lie about something like that. At that time it could have went to court. But how can anyone look at that, even just that little detail, and say that that's legitimate and would hold up in a court of law? You got to be seriously. Come on, man. Seriously.
I want to go to court of law with you, then, Nick. Then let's go down that road. So basically, the Stallions got 8 years, and a lot of the fan base went from Stalions did absolutely nothing wrong to Stalions was a lone wolfer, and the coaches didn't know what he was doing. Okay, so what is it today on Stalions in the 8 years that he got?
Do you watch this show?
Yes, because I did. Because literally people said early on, there were people out there that said that Stalions didn't do anything wrong, and then there were people.
We were laughing our asses off at that ridiculous photo of him on the sideline.
Okay.
From the get-go.
So two things can be true at once. Two things can be true at the same time.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
So did he went to CMU largely as a favor to a friend of his at CMU. He was not there at the behest of Michigan. Was he there partially because he thought he could help Michigan by being there as well? Maybe. But he was invited there by his friend at CMU to help them in their game against Michigan State. In that, he was a lone wolf in the sense that nobody at Michigan or on the coaching staff sent him there with that intention. There's also an aspect of the lone wolf thing in the sense that if Jim Harbaugh or whoever hires him to decipher signals of other teams and he's doing his job properly, that head coach is not necessarily micromanaging every aspect of how he's doing his job, because what he cares about is that he's doing his job. Okay. And there was no reason from my understanding for Jim to think, oh, he's not doing his job properly, I need to look into this. Okay. So those can both be true at the same time.
So if we go to court like Nick's saying, and Jim Harbaugh's got to stand up there in front of a trial in a court of law and say, I want a description of the Stalions' role in your program and what he did and why he was getting paid $50,000 a year. Would Jim Harbaugh finally be able to do that and give an intelligent view on what the Stallions' role was and what he did? Okay.
Yeah, he actually would. I'll tell you what he'd say. Yeah,
because he's not done it so far. He's not done it so far.
There's no guarantee it would even get to the point where Harbaugh's testifying, because it may be the point where, because of discovery and the fact that the main sources are a pedophile and also somebody who became an Ohio State player, and this is backed on by not just one source, but multiple sources I trust.
And just want to point out, if that's brought out in that column, that potentially puts Ohio State's 2024 season in jeopardy, because that would make that player ineligible for the 2024 season.
You guys, I really don't think that Ryan Day and Ohio State had anything to do with this. And there was a article, Yahoo, Ross Dillinger, that said the NCAA cleared Ryan Day in his family's name and Ohio State.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah. Let's not even go there, man.
We're not talking about his family and the PI.
Because there is nothing.
What we're talking about is that there's rumors and stuff out there, and supposedly something being written about it for a while.
Dan Wetzel's an article that's apparently going to expose.
So
hold on, no. Hang on. I want to ask David a question.
Shoot.
So let me ask you a question. If Jim Harbaugh went into this courtroom, stood up on that podium, and said, "Yeah, so we hired Connor because he seemed like a smart kid coming from an academy school, and he wanted to be an aspiring coach. A third of the time he was helping with game planning. A third of the time he was, I don't know, managing some lower level employees. And the other third of the time he stole signs for us. He was our sign stealer guy." What's your reaction to that?
Sure, I'm going to tell you what my reaction to that. And with the situation here, it's never been about sign stealing. It was how he went about obtaining the information. It was the advanced.
Thank you. So many people won't admit that.
It's the advanced scouting, though. But the advanced scouting is why we're here. I mean,
it's a financial infraction, not a cheating infraction.
But it's also sending mom to games, paying up. I mean, you're right. I mean, but
which is not a bigger advantage than trading signals on a weekly basis with games that you just played. And it's also been said by the NCAA that it provides little to no benefit in the game.
How are you seriously going to sit here and make the argument that Connor's mom going to a game, paying for a ticket like tons of other fans, and with grainy or whatever cell phone footage when everyone else has cell phone? By the way, you can get all the signs from TV. I don't know what the fuck people are saying. You can't see it all. Yeah, you can. So anyway, but how are you seriously gonna say that is some egregious, like, massive competitive advantage?
Well,
let me finish. Go ahead. When other teams are advanced scouting, you have coaching staffs who are on the sideline recording signs. After the game, they're fucking sending them to future coaching staffs on your schedule.
You can't tell me that's not a bigger advantage.
It's the same material thing, dude.
Nick, the NCAA is the one that's got the problem with the way that Connor
And I'm
obtains
saying they're
his
fucking
information.
retarded.
All right, well then let's go to. If you want to go to court, then that's the thing is what I don't understand is why no assistant coach up there, no head coach up there, nobody on that staff can just come out and say what this guy's role is because he's there for years. He's getting paid $50,000 a year, and nobody's out because everybody was on.
His role has been
Because it's
outlined. His
obvious
role
what
was to
his
decipher
role
other
was.
team signals and to protect our signals, and he did it better than any other.
And by the
team
way,
in
dude,
the country.
go ahead and take it to court. You got no fucking evidence, my guy.
Okay.
None.
Okay,
None.
well, then
You got nothing.
Some people need to show some balls and say what the guy did. If he did nothing wrong, then say he
I-
did nothing wrong, and here's why he did nothing wrong, Nick.
He did nothing
Period.
wrong.
Well, then say it and identify it.
I've been saying it the whole fucking time.
Well,
and you
then,
said
okay,
you watched the
Can I say
show.
something?
All right, let's.
All right, hold up.
simmer down a
I'll
little.
say this. We advanced scouted.
Sure.
Connor Stalions sent family members and friends to games.
Yes.
We know that.
It says a staff member as well in here, interns.
Which is still a financial infraction, not a cheating infraction, and provided very little to no benefit, especially when compared to what other teams were doing.
All right. Well, I'll say this. All right. So Dr. Buckeye and Rob, do you guys agree with this? So in that long document the NCAA put out, they also said they do not know the impact that this had on the outcome of games. Did you guys read that?
Right, but why is the NCAA saying that this rises to this many level ones if it's nothing?
Because every investigation in the history of the NCAA, once they get in there and start looking through stuff, they're always going to find a handful of violations. And that's what they found. None of them had anything to do with
one at a time.
Okay, I mean, I understand it's 5-on-1.
Here's why. Here's why.
One at a time.
How's it 5-on-1?
Hold on. Time out.
4-on-2.
Just chill. I got it. The reason why there's all these level ones is because Michigan did not comply. Due to the lack of compliance, Michigan was handed level ones. Jim Harbaugh did not comply with the NCAA.
Well, yeah, and I'm sorry if my employer comes to me and says, I want your last decade of personal emails and phone records, you can fuck off. I'm not complying either.
Right, but the other part that I'm saying here is, and Nick is kind of going down this road is if the Stallion was doing nothing wrong, then people would be able to say, according to NCAA rules, I can quote to you why the Stallion is doing nothing wrong.
It's not that he was doing nothing wrong. He did advanced scouting. The problem is when we say he did nothing wrong, we're saying in relation to people saying that he committed the biggest scandal in the history of college football and that he somehow provided an advantage that gave Michigan a win over every team on their schedule for years and years. It's stupid. He did, as far as that accusation goes, he did nothing wrong. You want to say he violated a poorly written, vague rule that's outdated, admitted by the NCAA that it was outdated from the 90s to keep the financial playing field level and should be repealed? Then fine, he broke that, and we're not saying he didn't. But you're trying to conflate two things. You're saying he broke this financial rule, and that means he cheated, and that means that all your wins are invalidated. And no, in that case, he didn't do that.
It's so ridiculous to jump to that. But I'll answer your question, David, from just like 2 minutes ago. Why would it was something? If I misquote you, I'm sorry. You can repeat it. You would say, why would the NCAA is something about level 1 infraction? Can you repeat the question?
Can you even read, Nick? I'm just kidding.
Hey, and I just want to say after this part right here, let's give Rob a chance because he's been trying to speak up. So
go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. So I've kept, like I said in the beginning, my co-host and I, we kept our mouth shut about this. We didn't know, we wanted to wait till the fines come out. This is why I really value the NCAA's opinion. And, I did read the report and stuff. And, dude, some of this stuff with Connor Stalions, it's wild, dude. Referred to the network of individuals as the KGB sent interns, staffers, and family members. And the thing I have was is we've heard for years and years that it was just, these innocent family members. Connor was being a nice guy, sending his family members to games. And then, it comes out that, this wasn't the deal. He was sending a staff member. Don't know who that staff member is. We probably never will. And, again, interns, but I mean, he even destroyed Evans. I mean, I kind of laughed at the part where he said, "I smashed the cell phone into 1,000 pieces. I threw it in the bottom of a pond."
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's
I
funny.
laughed
That's
at
funny.
that.
That's funny. I agree with you. Yeah.
I am
But-
shocked by Buckeye fans, maybe not you guys as much, but from what I've seen, in one hand, you're calling the NCAA like completely ridiculous. They dropped the ball. They didn't hand. This was an injustice done to mankind. Like all that bullshit that's been going around.
Nick, I'll
Like,
tell you why the Buckeyes.
can I finish?
I'm sorry. I was going to answer your question on that.
Nick,
I'm
man,
sorry.
at the end of the day, Nick, it's just
Sorry.
football, dude. It's just
No,
not
I
war.
understand it, but I'm trying to I'm not actually that pissed. I'm just trying to make this point because I've been trying to answer this question for like 4 minutes. You said, why would the NCAA rate, if they had nothing, raise this to all this level 1 garbage and do all this ridiculous stuff? Simple answer. For the same reason that they took away and have done what they did to you guys for that tattoo stuff. Ridiculous. They're not a serious organization, and they never have been.
Okay.
They're perpetual liars, dude.
Okay. I want to address that double standard. We were talking about it earlier. And because we compared that, and apparently you guys fan base has done a mea culpa on that. We could have used you in 2012, but
Okay.
the point being, actually we couldn't have, but that's neither here nor there. For the point of conversation, you know where I'm going with this. The point is this. In 2012, what are we saying? This was a different NCAA than it is now in 2025. And what changed about this NCAA? Because with the Tattoo Gate situation, our coaches were already gone. Fickle coached the 11 season and Meyer coached the 12 season. And we still got vacated wins and we still got a postseason game that cost us a chance to play for a national championship. So what was different between the 2012 NCAA and the 2025 NCAA?
Money.
NCAA had more power and money wasn't as big of a
but you brought it up as a Buckeye fan for us, so that's why I'm saying it, Nick.
Well,
I'm saying what I'm saying is that I don't understand how in one hand you can view this as a completely ridiculous organization that screwed us, and then on the other hand take what they say as gospel when you've seen year after year them bite the curb every corner they take. This is not
Nick.
a legitimate organization, dude.
Well, what I'm saying is keep up with the consistent screwing. Screw us in 12, screw
yeah,
you in 25. That's what I'm saying.
But they didn't.
If a
I live
company's
in
doing some dumb
reality.
shit, hold on. If a company's doing some dumb shit and 15 years later they're not doing it to the same level they were a decade and a half ago, that's some progress, right? Like, why are we hating that?
I do think we got screwed with this ruling. I've been bitching about this the entire time. Okay, millions of dollars, Sharon getting suspended for nothing. Like, give me a break, dude.
This is such legitimately was stupid as fuck for them to do what they did to Ohio State in that regard. My only issue with Ohio State was that with all of that, and I said this earlier, was that the coach knew ahead of time before the season that what those players had done. He knew that made them ineligible and then still chose to play them. That was the only issue I had with any part of that. The whole thing with punishing them after the fact and punishing coaches and players that weren't there was stupid then. And it would have been equally stupid for them to do it today. And so the fact that they aren't doing it as shitty as they did 15 years ago, like that we shouldn't be mad about that. Like they've progressed and gotten less shitty.
All right, let's hold on. Let me just say this. All right, first of all, I wish Dr. Buckeye was Dr. Michigan, and I wish Rob was also a Michigan fan. I like you guys. I think you guys are good people.
We'll trade Burks for them too.
Listen, we'll trade Burks to become Michigan fans.
Yeah, Burks has been too friendly to us Ohio State people.
Burks has been on the channel multiple
times. It's become questionable if he's a Michigan.
We all know the real reason why y'all welcome Burks. It's okay.
Anyways. All right, but let me just say this. The NCAA, what they did to you guys was not right. Like, it just wasn't. And I agree. I'm sure there were a lot of Michigan fans who took their jabs at you guys in 2010. They shouldn't have. But like we were not there. Like, our podcast was not there.
I didn't even know what a fucking podcast was at that time.
And also I've made my opinion very clear about the whole, you guys were the SEC of the Big Ten, but like, I'm not mad at that. I respect that. I'm not that, like, you guys have a desire to win that I respect as a university. You guys do, and I respect that. And at the end of the day, like the NCAA, I think we can all agree is an organization that's dying. Like they're not going to make it. SEC and the Big Ten are going to break away. They're not going to make it. We have two programs that are just quite honestly, and like let's just say this: if the roles were reversed and it was Buckeyes, the same thing would happen. You guys are too big to fail. As fucked up as that is, and like the reality is these like the blue bloods or in Nebraska doesn't count. We're not going to count them. But like the major brands, like they're not failing. Like the NCAA is not going to let that happen right now.
I agree. I think you eventually need some form of governing body. I just wanted, before I go, I wanted to circle back to your question. You said how it maybe worked out better, the Tattoo Gate. I think your question earlier about because it led to Meyer. Was your question earlier, my man?
Mine?
Yeah, about like how it
my,
worked
my,
out
my
better.
question about Tressel and Urban Meyer was if you could go back and say it so that they didn't punish him like that to where Tressel wasn't pushed out, and you knowing what you know now, would you? But knowing that doing that would make it so you never got Urban Meyer, but you keep Tressel, would you make that trade?
Well, here's what I was, and I answered that on a Buckeye podcast, so I'm going to answer it with you. I was on my way, and then we had the back and forth here. But to that point, a lot of people have said that. I would say, and I still think this, some people were saying that, I mean, Jim Tressel, first of all, I think in 2010 had a top 5 team. I still feel that. And it wasn't like the train was coming off the tracks.
No.
And if Tattoo Gate never happens, let's be fair, 2011 doesn't go that bad because the players don't get suspended, and that doesn't end up being that bad of a football team.
Agree.
And Jim Tressel probably has his usual 10-2 kind of season. And I think that now it would have been interesting because, I think Jim Tressel and I think Urban Meyer, and I mentioned 2012, both kind of took advantage of a weak Big Ten there for about a period of time. You know what I mean? So I still think that, and by the way, Urban Meyer won 24 games in a row with Jim Tressel's players. So let's not throw that aside. I mean, Carlos Hyde, Bradley Robies, Braxton Millers, Devin Smiths, these are all pretty good players. And I think Jim Tressel in 2012, 2013, and maybe 2014, a lot of that championship team was urban recruits from the 13 recruiting class. But I still think that to that point, I think Tress could have won a ton of games over that period of time. Now, what would have looked like as we got into 14 or 15 or 16 as the conference got more competitive, I don't know. But just to kind of
would you trade the Urban years to kept Tressel? Yes or no?
I still think we could have won another national championship with Jim Tressel. So
he was a great
but
Tressel, I think Tressel.
I respected Tressel. I didn't respect Urban, and it actually had nothing to do with Ohio State. I didn't expect how he ended the stuff at Utah and then went to Florida. I didn't respect how he ended the stuff at Florida and then came to y'all. Well, I respected Tressel.
Listen, Urban's a good coach, but there was the way he ended every single fucking, I guess out at every school was interesting. But I mean, look, Urban's built for college football, man.
Yes.
Like Urban's a great college football coach.
Yes.
I want to make
so real quick though, Rob, would you have traded that? Would you trade the Urban years to have kept Tressel?
Man, Jim Tressel, that's like my childhood, man. But Jim Tressel, great coach. I mean, I've done research on the recruiting classes he got in beginning years. He didn't have that great of recruiting classes, but he put together really good teams with those. It was more towards the end.
Yes.
More toward the end that the recruiting classes started getting up there. And I feel like the transition from Tressel to Meyer, like Meyer took it to the next level.
He did.
But man, just like man, that's just a tough one, dude.
Well,
I mean, I feel like Tressel, great coach, but Urban Meyer, man, he took the Ohio State to the next level.
I think Meyer, by nationalizing the recruiting, really did something. I mean, Tressel I've always made this point, by the way. Tressel was very more Ohio-centric with recruiting. You know what I mean? I read the numbers. He was 60-40 Ohio. Meyer was 40-60 the other way. Okay. But you know what's interesting? The 14 team had 14 or I believe 15 starters from the state of Ohio. There's an interesting little tidbit for you.
Yeah, Day doesn't. I mean, he doesn't really emphasize on in Ohio, like
maybe 7
somewhat,
or 8 guys.
yeah, but not as much as Tressel.
Right.
But I will say that I don't know, man. That's just a tough question to answer. I mean, both great coaches. Again, Tressel was pretty much my childhood, but man, I have to get back to you guys on that.
Well,
All right. Well,
I have to say that I do
think
think Meyer is the better of the coach, though. I would rank Meyer like higher on an all-time list than Tressel, so
That's
I might
interesting.
have to lean Meyer. So maybe you
Interesting.
know what I mean.
Oh, wait,
Let me-
I remember what I was gonna say. So basically, I think that Urban, the way that the recruiting change is, I think Urban understood what it took to win at the national level and
Yeah.
not just keep it within doing great within the Big Ten. I mean, Tressel did great within the Big Ten, but you saw when he went against Florida or LSU, that's more on like recruits on a national level. It just they couldn't really compete with that.
But here's the crazy thing: he still had the greatest victory in the history of the school, maybe.
Are you telling the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, because that's better than beating it. That's like beating 2 SEC teams.
Yeah,
they had more than SEC
man.
talent, by the way. By the way, 02 Miami is far more talented than 06 Florida or 07 LSU, and that ain't even close.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that.
That ain't even close.
What Miami had in 01 and 02 was stupid.
Yes, and they're better than 14 Bama. Everybody says 14 Bama is such a great win. Give me 02 Miami over 14 Bama.
I don't think people realize how much talent was on 01 Miami and 02 Miami. Like that was ridiculous. Like their backups are in the NFL. Like it's the crazy. I want to point something out. Remember,
sure,
there was that player who played for Colorado. He went to the Olympics, and then they kicked him out of college football simply because he had a sponsorship deal. Do we remember that? Do you guys remember that?
I do not. You got me on that one.
What was his name? Regardless, my point being is the NCAA they've been on some bullshit for a while, and they're losing. They are losing more and more control as football evolves, which is what we're going through, right? And look, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure you guys are frustrated as Buckeyes. And by the way, this has been a good conversation and debate. But the truth of the matter is, like, the game is evolving beyond the institution.
Yeah. The interesting thing though is it has become a free for all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe we can live forever in a free for all, but I don't think we can live forever in a free for all. I just don't think we can. I mean, there's no way you can live forever in the wild, wild west.
Well, I think what's the next TV deal? It's in 2028. Is that right? Or is it 26? Or there's a TV deal that's coming that a lot of people think that's when the collective bargaining agreement comes. And I mean, look, here's what we know. The SEC and the Big Ten.
29 through 30 is when the current deal runs for at least the Big Ten.
At some point, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to break away. They're already having monthly meetings. Like they have.
What would that look like?
Are you talking about a super conference?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking a super league, and I think it's either going to be 40 or 65 of the biggest brands, and they're going to be a league. Is what I think is going to happen. It's either 40 or 65. I think those are the numbers. That's my assumption. But at some point, this is going to get more professional than college.
So who's going to be the head commissioner of that?
Oh, my uncle and I, we were talking about this the other day. Could you mentioned like SEC Big Ten schools breaking off and forming a super league. Could you possibly see like owners from NFL teams, being major donors to some of those teams, but saying, hey, if I want to pay these players, we're going to make this into a farm system where, they're developing here and eventually they'll come play for, let's say, like the Dallas Cowboys or
I don't think it'll be a farm system. I just think it'll be like almost semi-pro, but they won't call it that. There's no question this is going to be a semi-pro like league, but they're going to still say it's college because they're they're students. At the end of the day, they will
wink,
be.
Wink, Nick. And I'm sorry, TJ. Wink.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wink.
No, I agree. Yeah. I don't think you're going to see donors become owners because like they're public universities. Most of these are public universities. Some are private, but at the end of the day, this it's changing. It's changing. And the schools, like unfortunately Northwestern and Rutgers, they probably won't make it. Like in the power conference. Yeah. It's going to be the top 40 brands. It's going to be 40 or 65, however they do it. It's gonna. But what I hope would, like, if I had like an ideal scenario, I would like relegation and promotion, like kind of like how they have in Europe. Like it'd be cool if there was like a group of 5 conference.
Yeah.
And like the bottom 3 of the power 40 or whatever, they get relegated, and then the top 3 of the let's say group of 5 conference, whatever, they get promoted. Like that'd be fun.
I will try and close here on a positive note. 3 cheers for our conference, by the way, because I do think we have passed the SEC.
I agree.
As 2 in a row, man.
We've even got Paul Feinbaum crying now. You know what I mean? So
did you hear that that thing that Paul Feinbaum basically said, "Oh, if Ewers was benched and Manning was in that game against Ohio State, Texas would have won." I'm like, no, they wouldn't have, dude. I think it was just destiny that they went on that playoff run and they won the national championship. Like, I don't care if Manning's in there. It's still not going to happen. And we saw what happened when Manning got in there. He got knocked out of the game.
Well, the weird part about that is that Sarkisian is probably top 2 or 3 coach in the SEC, and that statement's basically saying that he's an idiot.
Yeah, I think he was still a little too loyal to Ewers, but I think Texas had other offensive problems other than just Ewers last year.
But I think if Sarkisian looked at Arch Manning and said, "Hey, he gives us the best chance to win," I think he would have put Manning in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, but here's the crazy thing about Ewers. Like, Texas fans, like, pretty much booed him out of that stadium. But if you look at it, he's the one who, like, pretty much, like, responsible for bringing Texas back. I mean, if you look at like what he's done, just his overall body of work, I know that, there's been some deficiencies and all that, but in a way he did help bring Texas back. And
but he helped bring Texas back the same way Cade McNamara brought us back, but then we went to JJ. So
making nice handoffs for you guys. Is that what the case?
I would say that Ewers was way better than McNamara. But that's just
no, I mean I think that Sark is. I'm a Sark guy. Texas is my early pick to win the national title, so I'm going out there on that limb.
Interesting. I think it's going to be 2 Big Ten teams in the Natty this year.
I have Texas over Penn State. That's where I'm going to go.
Interesting. Okay.
I actually agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think Penn State will get a big year out of the running game. I think Aller will have a solid year. I tell you what, I think the one thing that's underrated, everybody says Franklin kind of screws it up. I do think he may have the 2 best coordinators he's ever had.
Well, that's the thing. The head coach is the weakest part of the coaching staff at Penn State.
Yes.
And I don't know that there's another school in the country that has that dynamic. Yeah. Like, I would take both of their coordinators in a heartbeat. I wouldn't take James Franklin. And this isn't just like a Big Ten thing. Like, I have said this since when he was at Vanderbilt and I lived in Nashville, nobody there liked him. I didn't think he was a good coach there. I think he was the beneficiary of some of the best teams that Vanderbilt's ever had. And like, I don't think James Franklin's good. I think they would be better by addition by subtraction without him.
You know what I've said for years is, what would that program have looked like had Bill O'Brien stayed?
Right.
It would be a question for the scholars, but folks, I think it's time to clear the deck. There's been some super chats and callers waiting a long time. So let's give everyone a final thought. And if you feel like it, where can people find you? And let's start with Rob, because I think you were on first.
Please.
Yep.
All right. Final thought about James Franklin. I think James Franklin has told everybody who he was since, after the year he won the Big Ten championship, and he's always made just these questionable calls in big time games. The top 10 record speaks for itself, especially against Ohio State. 2017 choked, 2018 ran it. I think it was 4th and 2 or 4th and 4 against Chase Young, going his way. And then, we saw last season that, okay, we're going to run 3 times and we're going to throw. And just like, he is the weakest link. He's shown you who he was, and he hasn't progressed all in the right direction. But that's just my thoughts on James Franklin. I actually do have Notre Dame versus Texas in the national championship game. But you guys can find me at my co-host and I, Peter, at Buckeyes Battle Cry. But thank you guys for having me on. It's
Hey,
been a lot
Rob,
of fun.
before you go, I just want to apologize to you earlier when your thing came up, and I said something about the pivot. I was in my head mixing you up with another Buckeye show, so I apologize for that earlier.
Oh, it's all good, man. I get it, dude. You know, you have all these pivots and stuff, and you
Yeah.
know, but you know, I appreciate you supporting our channel as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Well,
are.
listen, appreciate you, Rob, and you should become a Michigan Wolverines fan. And Dr. Buckeye, Dr. Wolverine, it sounds good. I'm just letting you know.
No. I'd rather gargle with razor blades, and that's not
Fair
going to
fair
happen.
enough, brother. Fair enough.
So yeah. Final thought from me, I will say I think we found out a lot about the NCAA today, both good and bad.
Of course
I
we-
think both sides
Of
will
course
agree on that.
Yeah.
I do think it's a worthless organization. You'll find a lot of Ohio State fans agree
Agree.
with that. So I'm trying to find a little bit of common ground here.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
I've been saying for years that we should all be in unison talk about how corrupt and shitty of an organization they are.
I will say
Well, let's
that.
hold on. So, Rob,
Go ahead.
are you all set?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Rob. If
All
I'm
right.
good.
Thank you,
yeah.
Rob. Okay, final thought. Let's go, Dr.
He's
Buckeye.
going.
Final
He's
thought.
going.
Yeah,
let him
I
go.
just a last sentence or two. Yeah, what I was going to say was I'm glad that we can agree that the NCAA is a worthless organization. I think we
Yep.
both fan bases have their misgivings about the NCAA, so I'll close on some common ground there. I am happy that we can eventually get on to talk about football. I think we can find some common ground there. And my job will forever to be to troll my least favorite fan base, as I will continue to do for the rest of my existence on this planet. And you now, I will stipulate, I am not a big Buckeye Scoop fan. John D sees me more than a few times on the Menace chat. I'm more of a Menace person. By the way, big Team Up North fan base on Menace, by the way.
Yeah.
And I will
Alex
say,
Jackson.
Zach's been there. By the way,
he's
Zach
good.
took a lot of heat from a certain fan base, but okay.
Yeah. Zach Smith's legit, man.
But in any case, you know, I'll be there. And by the way, a lot of Team Up North fans come into that chat. Johnny's in that chat. John D is in that chat. So, so we see a lot of those folks. And you guys will, like it or not, see me a lot more during football season.
Good. No, good. Dr. Buckeye, honestly,
back.
I like having you on, man. You're more than welcome. Open door policy, brother.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, have a good night.
Yeah,
Thanks,
See ya.
Dr. Buckeye.